Good morning, students, dear viewers, and respected colleagues. I welcome you once again here within this online lecture series session. So let me first of all recapitulate you people what we were discussing about, what we were talking about here. The unit I have started, that is entitled as the social justice and marginalization, and the chapter of the same unit titled as this understanding the marginalization. Last time in my last subtopic, that was actually the last subtopic which I was discussing with you people, I was trying to make you understand the concept of this Muslim and the marginalization. How in the country like India, claiming so-called democratic in nature, they declare Muslims as a minorities. And I defined the term minority to you people within the ambit of the political science. It's a community that are numerically small in relation to the rest of the population. And if you talk about the statistics point of view, I gave the data from 2011 census that was about this 14.2. It's 14.2 percent. That is the total population. Out of the total population, we do have this 14.2, the Muslim population in India, and which is constituted on the basis of the population that it is a marginalized section. Because they are lagging behind in every socio-political and economic domains, different social, economic and political domains of the life. They are not so at par with the rest of the communities. That's why, for the same sake, I give the certain statistics from the this graph as well. We are having here this. If we are going to bring the comparison, dear students, we are having this. Let's see the construction. The Pakka houses Muslims is 63.8. The consumption of electricity 67 point this something, tape water is 35.8. Then we are making the comparison. If we are making the comparison with this, the Sikh community, that's 91.3% of the Sikh community, they reside among the Pakka houses. So that speaks a lot. If we talk about electricity, that's 96.0, and then in the tap water, that's 49.3. That's almost high then in comparison to this Muslim community. So on this base of this survey and the statistics, we do have now absolute claim to say that the Muslims are considered the minorities, and when they are considered minorities, absolutely they can be called as a marginalized section. For the same sake, to address the same problems, we do have this. We have conducted this. A commission was established there under this Rajendra Sachar committee. They examined in 2005. They examined this the downtrodden conditions of the Muslim people, in which they try to deconstruct and they try to debunk the different myths regarding this Muslim minorities. And they claim that really the Muslims, apparently they are treated as this minority groups on the basis of their social economic development. So this is the last thing which I was discussing with you people to understand this social. What I mean say that simply this. The concept of marginalization, then how this social justice and the marginalization is the two sides of the different coin. They are not the two sides of the same coin. People are taking them differently. They are treated differently because they are not numerically high. Their statistics speaks very low. So this was the last thing which I was discussing with you people within this unit, and was the last topic, and the topic which I have chosen for you people today, that's about this same marginalization, how to confront this marginalization. Now the title of the today's topic is how to confront the marginalization. So dear students, let's try to see how to confront the marginalization. Confront means, now what are the different remedial measures, how to address this problem, how to face it, how to challenge it, how to withstand the idea of the marginalization that people termed it, that you are marginalized. So there in this new chapter, that's chapter number 8 of your textbook, we are going to talk about this, how to confront, how to face, how to tackle this the tag, the blemished scars and the blotted scars that they were not marginalized because something is on our back which address our grievances. Okay, dear students, let's continue. So the moment we talk about how to confront this marginalization, how to face it, how to tackle it, let's move back to this Constitution of India. What Constitution of India, what the frameworks of the Indian Constitution talks about. Did they took this thing under cognizance? Did they talk this thing constitutionally? Did they try to address the problems of those very people who are very least in number? They thought that let's give them any constitutional status. The frameworks of Indian Constitution on 1950, when the Constitution of India was adopted, So they definitely have taken this thing under cognizance, that how to address those very problems which are not creating the impediments, which are not creating the blocks among the progress of the nation, which are not giving the appealing and the sensation to that very section of the society who feel that we are almost 14 point something in number if you talk about the Muslim community. But this 14 point something, it speaks a lot. It's a huge chunk of population. It's a bulk of population, dear students. So what they now, how to safeguard their rights? Is there any provision within the Constitution of India? Is there any provision among the government, before the government of the country? Did the leaders of the country ever thought of this thing? Let's try to address their problem constitutionally. The bundles of questions are posed to the Constitution of India, the democratic nature of the country, the democratic system of the India, that how this problem needs to be addressed. So if we are going to confront this marginalization, if we talk about the 21st century, when India is talking about this, the permanent, they're claiming to have the permanent seat in this United Nations organization, do you feel that the Indians do not do something? That's the stepmother approach towards those very people who are very close to it, who are not alien, who are the citizens, who are the netizens of the country, but who are not aliens to them. But really, this core and periphery, don't we reckon that this core, the central, and the people who live in the heart of the center, the people who live among the metropolitans, don't they try to overrule, they overwhelm, they override the rights, the duties, rights, and the voice of those very people who live among the borders, who were once called the Adivasis, who were once called the inhabitants of the same country, who talk about their cultural heritage, who do have the strong cultural legacies, who do have the strong voices. Absolutely yes. The constitutional frameworks, dear students, the answer is quite candidly yes. The constitutional frameworks very beautifully talked about these things constitutionally the moment they framed it. So theoretically India is very sound. Theoretically they didn't allow anyone to disallow someone, to displace someone, to dislocate someone from their parental or motherland, and to establish there the national parks, to establish there the national wildlife sanctuaries, to establish their biosphere reserves, to establish their the historical spots or these tourist resorts. These are something that's very dispersing and that's very perturbing to the mind. When India is claiming that we are, these are the actual points that a student at this tender age needs to understand, how this democracy is showing a rosy picture to the people of Indians and the rest of the community. But what's actually going on among the curtains or behind the curtains? What's going on beneath the bars? That's what we need to understand. Otherwise, if you are coming out of the shell of the contours of this textbook, there are certain things we need to mention. But from the analysis point of view, from the analytical point of view, the things it demands a huge debate to discuss. But here, the paucity of time, the shortage of the time, I am trying to shorten this video. I am trying to short this video as much as it is possible to me. But to preview and for the sake of review and introductory point of view, we need to understand the different dimensions what we are going to discuss within this story. That's why I persistently, when I talk about this marginalized section, I every time talk about this the lady of India, what we simply call the Arundhati ma'am, Arundhati Roy. She is the messiah of this very section of the class, who every time talks about among his writings, speeches, articles, columns, magazines. She is every time addressing this section, the people who are living among the jungle dwellers, the people who are living among these jungles, among these peripheries. We should not exploit them at the cost of development and the progress of the nation. Dear students, now let's go ahead. Definitely, the Constitution of India framers, they have taken this thing into consideration exactly. So these people who try to defend their rights, whom we call marginalized, they try to invoke these things. They try to implement those things in its letter and spirit, from its ups and downs. What are those things we need to discuss? These are the part 3rd of the Indian Constitution. Dear students, that is the part 3rd of my Indian Constitution. What we simply call the list of fundamental rights. We call them fundamental rights. fundamental rights. So they lie within the part 3rd of the Indian Constitution. There's a long list of fundamental rights. They are almost 6 in number. So let's try to discuss them. Fundamental rights, how these fundamental rights are the moment these people try to invoke these fundamental rights, and how what the fundamental rights talk about, how they try to defend these people, the rights of this marginalized section, where we can say that they are confronting the marginalization, they are defending, they are protecting, they are safeguarding, they are preserving, they are projecting these marginalized sections. Let's go ahead, let's discuss them one by one. Okay, dear students, if we talk here, if you discuss here, the first one, that's right to equality, what we simply call right to equality. So means everyone is equal. The article 14 to 18 of this article 14 to 18 of this fundamental right list, they talks about the fundamental rights, and this right to equality for article 14 to 18 talks about the right to equality, means everyone is equal before the eyes of law, before the Constitution of India. Everyone is equal. There is no discrimination. There is no discrimination at any cost. Everyone is equal before the Constitution of India. Among which, if you discuss the article 17, that talks about to abolish untouchability. To abolish untouchability. Dear students, what's untouchability means? Everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. There is no untouchable. How we simply call that you are the Shudra class. The way we do have the concept was in the caste hierarchical order. When we talk about Indians, one is Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vishyas, then it is at the bottom it is Shudras. How we bring a comparison with the feet sociologically. So, but there is not like the case anything. We can simply say that everyone is equal before the eyes of the law. There is no discrimination. What article right equality talks about. Article 17 is against abolishing the untouchability. And if you talk about the article 15 among this right to equality, it means that no citizen to be discriminated against any on the basis of any religion. Every religion should be given equal respect. We should not discriminate any people on the basis of religion. When we are saying religion, from the religion point of view, everyone is equal. There is no discrimination on the basis of religion. No prejudice on the basis of religion. So we can simply say, when Muslim, we can say that he is an Hindu Indian Muslim. So we simply say that he is an Indian citizen, because the moment we tag him with the religion, it means that we are putting a label on his head that he is a Muslim. The Muslim wearing a beard, having the long kameez shalwar, wearing a beard, having a turban on his head. It indicates the person having the beard, having the turban on his head, having the long kameez shalwar is a Muslim. The moment we say he's an Indian Muslim, means we are putting a finger towards the fundamental right, where it talks about that there should be no discrimination on any basis. There is no discrimination on the basis of sex as well, whether someone is male or female. No worry. There is no discrimination on the basis of the race as well. There means there should be no ethnic clashes, ethnic variations. Everyone is needed to be treated equally. No prejudice, no discrimination on the basis of races as well. It indicates once again here that right equality of the fundamental rights talks about that everyone is equal. That's why these people who are considered marginalized, they invoke these fundamental rights to be implemented in its actuality, originality, in its letter and its spirit. Okay, when we talk about now this invoking these fundamental rights, their basic sense is to attain those very things which the Constitution guarantees them, because Indian Constitution guarantees all those fundamental rights to be given to the every citizen of the country. There is no discrimination at any cost. Dear students, let's have a quick glance or a look toward the screen. There's one term written, that's Dalit. That's Dalit. Dalit, which means broken, is used deliberately and actively by the groups to highlight the centuries of discrimination they have experienced within the caste system. This clip has, I took it directly from the textbook because it spoke to my heart. The Dalits, the moment you talk about these Dalits, it simply means, when you talk about the Brahmanic, this Hindu caste system, the first one it's Brahmanas, then Kshatriyas, then Vishyas, and last it's a Shudra. And we won't call it Dalits, untouchables. And this Dalit exactly it's categorized and it lies within the same category, what is simply called untouchables. That's why it means literally the broken. And this Dalit category, this Dalit community, it is discriminated since centuries. It discriminated since centuries, and they have experienced this discrimination within the caste system. If my question, it is very simple. If the Constitution of India is guaranteeing all the rights to the citizens of the country, it indicates that no one should be given the superiority or inferiority the status. Everyone is equal before the eyes of law. So why these things, why these taboos, why these values are still inculcated deep among the people of the country, where the certain things are constitutional or institutionalized, otherwise constitution strictly prohibits them. So why these things in this century is still going on, and India is climbing that with almost 70 years democratic country, almost 70 years democratic country. So the need of an hour is only to institutionalize these things, where we cannot show any weightage to this caste system, where we can we can rely over the norms of the constitution that brings equality, that speaks equality, that talks about equality, and let's try to implement these things very in its basic sense. Otherwise, we are going to fragment, we are going to this construct such a tough society, such a watertight competition among the societies, where still we can claim that there is someone who is at the top of hierarchy and someone who is at the down to the hierarchy, and no one intercaste marriage is allowed, no one intercaste education is allowed, and the people will be still discriminated that you belong to this very community and you belong to that very the Dalit group, and you cannot enjoy the basic stats, and you cannot enjoy the actual fundamental rights that the Constitution of India is enshrining you, and that Constitution of India is guaranteeing you. Dear students, it was all for the today's lesson. Let me hope that you will review all these things and you will watch these videos by the core of your heart. You are framing the lecture books at your home, and you are compensating the loss. Till I will be back to you. You just take care, and Khuda Hafiz.